Let's talk to Michael in California. You're on the air.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I want to say amen to the fellow that just was on, and my thoughts continue on. I am a Roman Catholic layman who is an exorcist, and I found out that Catholics who have the sacrament of confirmation, which is the descent of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles at Pentecost, can do exorcisms, but they don't know it. The knowledge was hidden 1,794 years ago. The reason I know this is because a colleague of mine and I, from 84 to 90, did research on the church, and we found this out, and we worked with a priest who was a personal friend of John Paul II. He met John Paul in 1938 in Poland. He was one of the priests that mentored him into the priesthood and protected him from the Nazis. Father continued and then protected him against the Soviets. And Father was caught by the Soviets and kept in a gulag until 1947 when the State Department, under the influence of Rome, was told that where he was and that he was an American citizen, and so they finally coughed him up in 1947. He was brilliant, and we sort of brainstormed with him at the time he was 80, but he was brilliant.
Well, you ought to do a YouTube video about that or write an article about it. It's very interesting, and I'm interested to hear what he had to say about exorcisms because I tell you, a lot of people, it's like mental illness is like viral or something, and it's like they're demon-possessed. Mentally ill people I've dealt with, someone's normal, and then suddenly they're like evil and bad. I want to talk about it more when we come back. Stay there. And then I'm going to get to these special reports and more calls. I was up about 6 a.m. this morning before the sun even came up, looking out over the hill country and the lights, and I just thought how fantastic consciousness and being alive is. You can say what you want about life after death. You can say what you want about where we came from, where we're going, but man, this is fantastic to be alive. And I know that Hollywood and Air Force One and red carpets is not the end-all be-all. This life is a test. You know, I wanted to go to that caller about the exorcism story, and I said, please hold over. And I don't know what it is. When I say hold over, they never do, or rarely. But I was talking to someone who follows the Carl Jung system of psychology, Swiss psychology, which I think is the most accurate out there of constructs to look into the human mind from a secular perspective. And this is a well-known psychologist, I'll just leave it at that, that quietly underground does exorcisms, even though they weren't religious until they began to investigate it all, but then did it. And even if people aren't Christian in their background, they only respond to the name Jesus Christ. And I actually know someone quite well who was involved in close to 100 exorcisms with this well-known psychologist / PhD. And the stuff they saw doing this, the person I know just couldn't even do it anymore. It was too intense. With people that thought they were possessed. It's just amazing. And those aren't areas I really get into here on air. But you can call it mental illness, whatever you want, but where people just, their face changes and their whole demeanor changes and it's a different person. And it doesn't matter if what they're doing hurts them and hurts others and isn't even good for them to do. They will do it because it's destructive and it's bad. And I've talked to one of the best known psychologists here in Austin, Texas, who I know is a listener, but I ended up meeting him through a separate issue. And they said after 40 years of doing what they do, at the bottom of the rabbit hole, they weren't religious and they become religious. That's happened to so many genetic engineers and people. When they really start looking at stuff, they go, this has been made. This didn't just fall off a turnip truck. This didn't just appear in the middle of the desert or in the ocean. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, everything we're being told is not the full story. And the entire Illuminati system is about the public not learning these secrets. And I know a lot more than I even get into on air because people just aren't ready for this information. People aren't ready to know that there's a long declassified history of adding sterilants and other horrible stuff to vaccines that, or yuppies go, well, there are too many people. And I'm like, but they're targeting your kids. It's like taking your kids up to the temple in Tyre 2,500 years ago and throwing them on a burning altar in front of Moloch. I mean, why? Well, the state said do it. Or 3,000 years ago, and what's Wales today? In central England, north of London, in the Welsh Hills. The priest would come around, the Druidic priest, and some years he might just want your cat or maybe your oxen for the summer solstice or winter solstice or whatever event it was, Samhain, Halloween. Sometimes they'd say, I want you. They'd take the man and put him in a wicker basket and burn him so the crops would grow the next year. Sometimes they said, I want your son or I want your daughter. And right in front of everybody, they'd let him get the little kid drunk, the little 6-year-old girl or boy. I guess they were nice to him. The Aztecs did that too. They got him drunk. And they'd lean him out there right over that peat bog. And they'd take that dagger and they'd slit that throat and just let that little kid's blood pour right into that bog to that god. Or sometimes they just club their head in right there. Or sometimes they take little kids bound and throw them into a big pit of coals to just swell up and pop and burst. And I know you don't want to hear that, but every culture did that. And it's the state, the religious state, demanding that children be killed to the God. I mean, look at the Bible. Abraham. God says, take your only son. Guess he had another brother as well, but you take that one, your heir, the one you really wanted, the one you had with your wife, not with your concubine. Take him up there and stab him in the heart. But then we talk about them kidnapping kids. They, oh, no, nobody's involved in that. And there's like tens of thousands of missing kids. They can't find them with the NSA. And I'll tell you why they can't find them. Because the NSA is not allowed to look into that. They're only allowed to watch what the Tea Party's doing. And, oh, look, Dinesh D'Souza, you know, he's in a divorce 2 years ago. And then magically the word comes down that he got some friends to donate money and he gave them money to, so let's put him in jail. See, and they go, well, it's the law. And they said, Mr. D'Souza, I was reading the court ruling yesterday, the transcript, while at red lights in traffic. I literally pulled it up and was reading it at red lights. And the judge, all appointed by Clinton, the prosecutor appointed by Obama, said to D'Souza, how dare you do an interview? And they played the transcript. But it was only a transcript. I couldn't see the TV in the courtroom. They played him on Fox News and they played him on this radio show, saying it was political. He's bargaining. He said, because of your speech, I'm going to put you in a re-education center, therapeutic therapy for mental illness for 10 months. Or is it 8 months? You got to pull up the transcript. I think it's 8, 9, or 10 months. You have to look it up. My memory fails for a moment. But the point is that he has to go to daily brainwashing about how he's mentally ill at an actual shrink medical center, therapeutic for his thought crime. And the judge sat there and said, how dare you say this was selective or political? We don't do that. 5 years probation. They pulled it up here. Yeah, but it's how many months to a, quote, community center? It's like a giant open-air prison. It'll say how many. Yeah, it's 8. Okay. They had sought 16 months prison sentence, but it said it's 8 months in basically a locked-up halfway house, hellhole. I'd rather be in prison in one of those halfway houses where the criminals go in and out, and there's like weird criminals that run them, feeding on people and preying on them. I mean, what a nightmare. And all these nobodies that couldn't get jobs that mess with you all day, and all these probation people. I mean, what a hellhole. But what's amazing is if you read the judge's ruling and statements, it's online. You can read the indictment and everything else. When I got home, I read that again. It's just fascinating tyranny. Because you spoke out, I'm going to go ahead and give you a sentence of 8 months, and I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 years probation and $30,000 fine. I wouldn't have if you wouldn't have said this was political. I mean, they're politically saying, you talked about us, so we're going to punish you, but this isn't political. It's like taking a bottle of vodka and going, this isn't alcohol, and guzzling 15 shots of it. The judge indicts himself in the statement of just hubris and just arrogance. And they'll be like, well, Dinesh D'Souza gave, I kept saying 30, it was $20,000, $10,000 of it was legal, through donors. That's all Clinton and Obama and all of them do is go out and get straw donors. It's on record. They say it's legal when they do it, not when somebody else does it. But let me tell you, when you've punished those that funded Al-Qaeda, when you've punished all those that put fluoride in the water, when you punish those that gave live polio vaccine to millions, when you've punished those that put our troops on death list, secret death lists, and not give them treatment at the VA nationwide, when you've punished the people kidnapping little kids, when you've punished all the illegals pouring across, burning down houses and killing people, then once you've gotten all them, if you want to get to Dinesh D'Souza, then I would say it wasn't political. Of course it's political when Rick Perry, who I don't even like, is forced because of incredible public pressure to go after the Travis County DA, who's on video spitting on police, flopping around, kicking like she's possessed. Looks like Linda Blair. She runs a state agency, $7 million for the county public integrity fund. He says, step down or I'll cut the money. Tries to get the Democrats quietly to appoint a new person who's Democrat, and they indict him and then say it's not political. It's just flaunting this stuff in people's faces, flaunting it, arrogantly, mentally ill. We have something breaking in a few hours that's very interesting from the FBI crime statistics website. It says there were no deaths in New Haven, Connecticut in the year of the New Haven mass shooting. And Wolfgang Halbig, we're going to get him back on the show tomorrow or the next day to break some of that down with us. But the report will be up on Infowars.com in the next few hours and PrisonPlanet.com. I still haven't aired that hilarious piece they did on myself and Ray Kurzweil for RT. Maybe we'll play that tomorrow on the Singularity. When I get a little bit sarcastic and I say illegals are like gods or something, they can get all the welfare they want. They can be above the law. They can fly without ID. The big banks give them bank accounts, AP reports without ID. It's meant to incentivize, in a corporate takeover of the country, a bunch of poor people that can be the new government minion class. And then if you're against it, you're racist. No, I'm against the country collapsing into third world state. NAFTA and GATT was about collapsing us. It's done a pretty good job. This is about the North American Union. Let's get a few of your calls that have been holding the longest. Crazy Horse. That's a cool name. Crazy Horse, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I want to get into how Obama is actually a terrorist under his own law. But real quick, I have to get to Psalm 37, starting at 12. The wicked plot against the righteous and gnash their teeth at them, but the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. The wicked draw the sword, bend the bow, to bring down the poor and the needy, and slay those whose ways are upright, but their swords will pierce their own hearts, and their bows will be broken. Better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked.
Yeah, I've read that verse. It's powerful. It's true, too.
Yeah. So anyways, under the National Defense Authorization Act, counterterrorism, section 1021, subparagraph B, it talks about covered persons or quote-unquote terrorists. And it says a covered person under this section is any person as follows. Number 2, a person who was a part of or substantially supported Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or associated forces that are engaged in hostilities against the United States or its coalition partners, including any person who has committed a belligerent act or has directly supported such hostilities in aid of such enemy forces.
Yeah, that's been pointed out that arming Al-Qaeda the last 4 years, and especially Benghazi 2 years ago, is an act of terrorism, and that's why they're so scared of this coming out. They're always arresting like mentally ill people that they trick into saying they're going to bomb something, but then our own government's arming them and it's not being discussed. I forget that subsection again. Plug where you find that and the subsection again.
If you just type in NDAA covered person, section 1021, subparagraph B.
That's right.
Yeah, but it gets deeper than that, though, because Obama's actually extorting all taxpayers' money, like all the taxpayers. So
yeah, now he's making us aid and abet them publicly and then doing a fake bombing of one of these subgroups, as we predicted, this Khorasan situation. Excellent point, brother. I'm going to try to do a special report on that in the next few days. Headline, proof Obama is a terrorist by his own definition.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.
Alex Jones here to break down some exciting developments in the area of research concerning supplemental iodine. It's nothing less than phenomenal. I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. And I used some of the mainline iodine supplements and they upset my stomach and I had some issues with it. Until I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group, who I was already interviewing as an expert on my radio show, and I began taking the product before he actually rolled it out. You now know it as Survival Shield True Nascent Iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals that are incredibly powerful that no one else has as a source for their iodine from between 7,000 and 12,000 feet, literally drilled out of the ground. You put it on a hot plate and it turns into the pure gas. No one else has 99.99% pure iodine. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. I was over 270 pounds. And with the iodine, exercise, and better diet, I have lost now more than 50 pounds total, and I'm continuing to lose the weight. I have more energy, my libido, all this crap came out of my skin. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating. This is trailblazing. And the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox special at InfoWarsLife.com.